Hello, Chris again. Let's look at more UV tools in this video. So I have my cube here, our handy cube, and as I mentioned before, you don't need to delete the UVs to begin creating new UVs. So if you have ones that aren't working for you, you can just select the faces and continue to create. So this UV shell is fine, but let's go ahead and explore some of the other tools. So I'm going to go to Object Mode and select this. In the last video, we talked about planar mapping, and I believe this one to be the most useful for beginners, just to kind of understand the principles of UVs. So we also discussed how, all these creation methods are akin to holding up mirrors to the model and seeing what the reflection is, right? So let's talk about automatic. If I have this whole cube selected or just certain faces selected and I click automatic, it is going to hold a mirror. By default, it'll hold a mirror up in every axis and see what reflections it's getting. So I'm going to go ahead and click automatic, and you can see, oh, here are the little mirrors that it's holding up, right? And it is capturing the reflection from all those sides. So this is fine, and sometimes this is very useful. You'll see that texel density is even throughout. All the faces are the same size right now, which is good. And there's no distortion, right? I can turn the checker map on, and there's no distortion. So I could come through and, use that, select the edges, hold shift, right click, move and sew edges, or go to this cut and sew, right? And click on stitch together. And then here we have it. So the problem that I see whenever I teach UV unwrapping is that many students will use automatic far too often, and they'll do it to the whole model, and then they have a ton of shells and they're having a hard time understanding what shells should be sewn together or could be sewn together, as well as organization problems. So automatic can be good for some pieces, especially pieces that have a lot of faces that are pointing along axis lines, and if you understand how to sew it back together. Most of the time, you're not going to want to use automatic, and I will also say almost every time it's a poor idea to select the entire object and UV unwrap the whole thing using one of these creation methods. It's typically going to be better if you have a more thoughtful approach and select specific faces that you know will work well with one of these tools. Alright, so that's the automatic. Let's work with another shape. So another polygon primitive, the cylinder. So here we have the cylinder, and you can see it comes with default UVs. The default UVs of the cylinder, you can see, are not distortion free, right? This middle chunk is stretched. So if I were to select these faces, like so, which would be the same thing as selecting this shell, I can use this cylindrical creation. And here we have, if we continue with our mirror analogy, we have a mirror that would wrap and be bent around a cylinder in that direction. So if I hit cylindrical, you'll see that we now have a shell that is mostly distortion free, and it captured it. So this will be very helpful for any object that is cylindrical like that, that wraps around. You could use cylindrical. And then we still have these two top shells, which are distortion free, so we could keep those. If we did not have those, then I would select those faces and use a planar map in the Y to capture them. So let's talk about this face here. So if we were using the analogy of cutting out this object using scissors, and what we're getting here would be if you made the cut and you have not laid it out completely flat yet, which is why it's getting stretching. There's a very helpful tool called the Unfold tool. It's located right here underneath this Unfold drop down. Unfold. The shortcut to it, which is what I use, is to hold shift, right click and hold, and go to Unfold, Unfold. If I select this, it's going to unfold it and get rid of the stretching. It's able to do that because this is one contiguous UV shell that is only wrapping around in one direction, right? If I had this top connected and I try to unfold it, it will stretch it bizarrely. Let's see what that looks like. So let's say I selected these faces and I went to move and sew, and I say, okay, let's unfold this. And you can see it's unfolding. Let me hit Control 1. So you can see that's this entire shell, and it's trying to unfold it, but now it's almost as if this object is made out of rubber and it's stretching it and pulling it, right? So I know that if I wanted to unfold this, I would need to cut this apart. So instead of, what I could do is I could select just these faces again and do a cylindrical, and then I could do a planar here. Alternatively, if I know the edges that need to be cut, I can select them. So I know these edges all need to be cut. And then I can go to this cut and sew and hit cut. Alternatively, I can hold shift, right click, and go to cut. And now that it's cut, I can take this and move it. I like to work with this little toggle on, which will show you all the border edges of a UV shell will be thick. So it gives you a quick glimpse as to, oh, okay, even though these are lined up, you know, this is a shell. If, let's say, I go to edge mode and I sew that together, if that border display is turned on, it'll be easy to say, oh, this actually isn't, this is still one shell, right? Because this edge still needs to be cut. And if I were to take this shell and unfold it, you can see it unfolds it, but that's still attached. So I'm going to take this and cut it, and we'll unfold this. Yeah, so now we have distortion-free shells. We have uneven textile density, and one other main issue. Whenever we have border edges like this, we want to, especially on a surface that is rectangular, we want to straighten our edges as much as possible. The reason why is we want to avoid this, right? So even if our UV shell is very small, if it's straight, we can avoid having this sort of pixelation, whereas even if it's very large and it's diagonal, frequently we can get this pixelization. Okay, so if I were to take like this, and right, that's a straight line on a very small resolution, but it's lining up with the pixels, right? Because pixels are square versus diagonal. So if I want to straighten this shell, there are two ways to do it, but what I'm going to show you right now is if we go to this Arrange and Layout and click Orient Shells, it will straighten it. Once it is straightened, sometimes it will, when you do that, sometimes it will arrange it in, you know, up instead of sideways, or just the wrong way. And you can always go to Transform and click on this Rotate, and you can choose the number of degrees. So if I know I wanted to rotate it 90 degrees, I could click on this button. So I'm going to scale this down, and I'm going to use as much of the 1-to-1 space as possible. And then I will get the textile density and set the textile density for these two. And arrange these like so. And now I have UVs on a cylinder that makes sense and that I could texture on. So I'm going to make a quick model here, and I'm going to leave the checkerboard on so that I can illustrate what happens to your UVs when you start with a brand new, you know, polygon primitive and as you model. And I'm going to speed this part up. All right, so here I have the model, right? And you could see as we are working that, you know, the UVs over here don't really change much, like especially the border is not changing. And we're getting distortion, right? So this is what happens when you model, is that, you know, your UVs get all crazy and you need to unwrap them. So the other method we've already talked about, let's go ahead and unwrap this. We've already talked about automatic, cylindrical, and planar. And let's talk about camera based. This is the final one that I'm going to discuss for this intro series. So camera based will essentially place the mirror at whatever your camera is, wherever your camera is pointing. So I'm going to put this at like a 3/4 angle, something like this, and looking at the object, and then I'll choose camera based, and you'll see that it has created UVs based on my camera position. And from this angle, we have almost one of those illusions, right, that you see. Someone will paint a room or a sidewalk to make it look like there's just an optical illusion, but then when you see it from any other angle, it doesn't really work, right? So we're getting all sorts of stretching and stuff. So using a combination of the tools and cut and sew, we can frequently begin to cut out our shells pretty easily this way, if you understand it. So I know that I want to cut the bottom off, so I can select these edges here, which represent the bottom faces, and go, hold shift, right click, and cut. And now I have a shell here, which I'll just place over here for now. I can double click on this edge, which is this top edge here, and I can cut that. Now I have this shell. Let's also cut here. Now I have this shell. And I could, let's grab this and that and cut there. Now I have 2 more shells here. I can select edges here too. And cut there, there. Got these shells. Cut this bottom off. Cut off the top. Separate this, cut that off. And let's cut off right here. Then up here, I'll select that bottom part where this sort of cylinder meets the top, and then I'll cut, got a big end gone up here that I need to fix, but I'll cut those as well. And all right, so this is a good starting point. I'm gonna actually cut off right here this face as well. I can hit Control 1 over here, and I can isolate a shell with it selected. I'm going to cut here so that when this unfolds, it can unfold flat. This one needs to be cut there too. This one too. This needs to be cut as well. All right, so I Control 1 again to see this. I'll select this and Control 1. Okay, so now I've cut this up, and it was a bit easier to cut it up with that camera based. And obviously you would not have to do camera based for the whole thing. You could just select, you know, like certain faces and do camera based if that's what you want. I need to cut this as well. Then I come through, take this UV shell and unfold it. Right? There it is. There it is. Distortion free. And I can unfold this. And I always like to check these out. That's looking good. Distortion free. Unfold this. Unfold that. That's good. I'm hitting, so when you reuse a tool over and over again, instead of going unfold, unfold every time, if I'm going to hit unfold again, I can just hit G, and by hitting G, it will reuse the last tool that I used, and that's universal across Maya. So G, 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 G. You could select all of these and unfold them at the same time. You may run into, depending on your computer, you could crash Maya, which is not ideal. So this is looking pretty good. I'm not seeing a lot of distortion. This is distorted. You can kind of see right there, right? So I need to cut it again. So I'll cut right there. And then, oops, unfold. There we go. Just kind of look around. That's looking good. So I need to straighten these. These are all, at an angle. So let's go ahead and straighten them. So I'm going to go to Arrange and Layout and Orient Shells, and I'll select a couple at a time. And I could, once I've done it, I can just hit G again to keep orienting shells. Actually, I want to check. That's good. Now, the next thing would be, let's make the shells horizontal, all these long shells. So I'm going to go to Transform and rotate this 90 degrees. I'll do the same for this one, this one. So we need to fit our shells into this 1-1 space, and this is sort of the jigsaw puzzle. Let's take this shell. I tend to start with the larger shells, and I'm going to scale this down, something like this. Then I'll go ahead and get the textile density, get, and then set the rest. And now I can come through and arrange this. So you want to kind of be thoughtful about arranging your shells in such a way that you understand the layout, so that when you're texturing, it all makes sense to you. And frequently you'll be working and your shells may not all fit inside the 1-to-1 space, or they may fit and there's a lot of extra room in the 1-to-1 space. And like I said before, your goal is to not only make them fit, but to use as much of the 1-to-1 space as possible. So let's say you get somewhere like here, and these shells all fit, but you have a bunch of extra space. So it's going to be worth your time to either cut this up differently, or just like cut it up differently and then scale it so that it takes up more of the 1-to-1 space. In this circumstance, let's say I'm going to put this in a game and it's going to sit on the floor and the player will never see this face. So I'm going to scale this way down because they'll never see it, and it doesn't matter if the texture resolution is high or not. I could even delete this face if they were never going to see it, but I'm just going to scale it down. Then maybe I'll take this long face here and cut it in the middle and scale it up a bit, maybe like this. And then I'll hit get here, and then I'll select all of these except for this tiny one and hit set. And then I can try and arrange this again. Having a good UV layout will pay big dividends in the texturing process. So I'm going to have to make some changes on this in order to get everything to fit. So I scaled up a little too much. All right, so when we're done, we want to make sure that no UV shells are, that we're not getting a lot of distortion. No UV shells are inside out, and that we're using as much of the one-to-one space as possible, right? So in this video, we talked about more of the creation tools. We went over the cut tool and used that extensively. And then I demonstrated unwrapping a model and sort of my thought processes going into that unwrap, and talked about just sort of the basic, like what we're looking for as an end result for various models. This should be good enough to get you going with UV unwrapping, or at least the basics. And later on, we'll be covering more advanced techniques for UV unwrapping. Thank you.